I like taking a little piece of music by Burgmuller from his Opus 100. If you don't know these pieces and you're in that late beginner, early intermediate stage, everybody should know these pieces for the piano. I think it's just part of the teaching tradition. They're really great pieces, so I'm going to give you this download for free. I noticed a little typo down here at the bottom. I'm going to fix that before I upload it officially. But what we're looking at is this piece by this guy, Burgmuller, and it's from his Opus 100. And this is the first piece in Opus 100. It's great. Here's a little bit of the beginning. So what I like about this piece is that it's got this long, never-ending melody that's just kind of winding its way through our ear. And you've got to do something to shape that. You're listening for, where is the direction of this going? What am I trying to say with this? And he never seems to stop this melody. It just kind of keeps going. So shape it. You can give it a lot of emphasis by adding that kind of phrasing and that kind of shaping to it. And in our left hand, we're just holding these nice little triads. It's very C major. If we've got C major in that left hand, and then just opening it up to this F6/4 chord, which is how I like to write an F in second inversion, which is the 4 chord, and then to this G7 chord. It's very elementary as far as the chords go. There's nothing wrong with getting bored and trying it out in a different way. And the other thing you could do if you got bored was to expand these chords a little bit. Okay, so there's some flexibility with sheet music that I wish people would just really get on board with. Obviously do things where you expand. You know, even from that very basic level of just taking the left hand and adding a little chord figuration. This would be called a chord figuration. Something, or why not take it and do the slightly irreverent thing and break whatever our beloved composer Burgmuller, who I know nothing about, okay? I don't think he'd care. I don't think he cares at this point, right? Anyway, we're going to take this piece. We're going to work through some of the mechanics that you have to do with the right hand especially. We've got this motion a lot, right? It's this descending pattern of the right hand. Now what's happening is and notice the contour, right? We've got this nice space note to space note. So you can notice that major third there that's happening. Minor third, I guess. You just notice the thirds, okay? And otherwise it's stepwise. So we've got line, space, line, space. So it's stepwise. It's this pattern. We're just skipping that weak fourth finger, but we're moving from the weak side of the hand over to the strong side of the hand. So when we have something like that, try to do a little bit of a wrist up and over motion, okay? There's a little bit of, I start on my pinky, lift up and around and come down. Then we have this larger interval that we have to reach. We're going to open the hand for this octave. And what we're feeling for is the 3 black keys here. Something has got to tell you where your hand is on the keyboard. Don't do this. And then just like open up and guess, right? First of all, that introduces quite a bit of tension into the hand. I'm opening in the hand and like cranking it open. And then just guessing that if I set my hand like this, it's an octave. I just love to feel the other keys with my other fingers. So I'm feeling my long fingers on this black key and it's just gonna drop in. And the other thing about that is I wanna feel my third finger drop between these 2 black keys. Right, third finger is gonna drop right between. Often I'll write in my music, I'll just write BBK, and that means between the black keys. So as I'm going, open and feel that third finger dropping between the black keys. And then I've got my next chunk going. Does that make sense? Like if you've got that kind of chunking hand position feel for the keyboard with anything that you're playing, that's the first goal. right? The right finger on the right note is just put the right chunk, put the right hand shape on the right chunk of keys on the keyboard, and do it in a way that's relaxed and isn't going to tax your hand by doing, silly things like lifting and not having any reference point with the rest of your hand. And then there's this compression of the hand. Okay, and when you've got that down, add the hands together. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I like to count out loud. It's my thing. This second phrase, very similar to the first, except everything is stepwise. Notice the contour. Get used to this idea of contour. And then when you see something like this, you can just trace it with your eyes. If we're getting into this sight reading thing, this idea of what do your eyes do when you're looking at sheet music, you've got to get into the mode of, I'm reading contours. I'm literally just connecting the dots with my eyes, okay? And the benefit of that with sheet music is that you can look ahead and do that. You can see that in a chunk. If you're doing a keyboard visualizer thing to learn something, you wouldn't get that same kind of look ahead or pattern recognition that happens with this. So I'm just seeing this contour of whoop, whoop, right? And then this starts getting a little zigzaggy. And then all I looked for with this, I saw this contour, but I really was just looking for this third, right? Line to line. Okay, and the left hand has this nice G7 chord to C. And then this lovely D7 chord, we're gonna talk about this in a second here, and resolves to a G chord. Notice my fingerings. 5, I'm gonna feel my third finger on this F sharp here, right? If that was anything, I would wanna feel my third finger on that black key. I can find that, and then my second finger is gonna just be dropping right in there, okay? So it's a very tactile experience to play chords. Notice what you have to feel for. On this D7 chord, we're feeling for the F sharp and then dropping down, okay? Now, this chord progression, what we're looking at is a 5 chord to a 1 chord to a 5, 7 of 5, and then to a 5. Since we're in the key of C, C is our 1 chord, G is our 5 chord. There's our 5th note, right? So if we build a G7 chord off of that, that's our G7 chord, our 5-7 chord. Now, if I did the same thing from G, D is the 5 of G. Okay, so that's what we're doing here is we want to make it sound like we're modulating. It doesn't really modulate for the rest of this piece, but it kind of does. It's ending this phrase here on G. But since our key signature is the key of C, we can't call it 5 to 1. We have to call it 5-7 of 5 to 5. Okay? It's a little bit like Inception, right? It's like a dream within a dream. Take some time to improvise with these fun chords. G7. And just do a chord figuration. That just means play the chord in whatever pattern that you want. Resolve to C. And then a D7 chord. Resolve to G. And those 4 chords sound really nice. Those 4 chords together could be a pop song. Okay, it'd be kind of a cheesy pop song. I like to do little finger picky type things. Okay, so if you've got something like that that is a repeatable 4-bar chord progression that you find in any of the pieces that you're playing, like steal it, and then I don't know how anybody doesn't space out and daydream during their practice session. And I think if you're gonna daydream anyway, bring the music along with you. So steal something and start to participate in the creative process with the sheet music that's right in front of you, right? This is just a representation of a moment in time that Burgmuller wrote this piece, and it's good. It's a little study. It's a little exercise. But take that exercise and do something more with it. Make it your own. I like that contrary motion that we get in this measure. And this is a little bit of a tricky measure. I think probably the trickiest measure of the whole piece, honestly. Because it's for the left hand, we're going from the weak side to the strong side of the hand, which is good. But then we've got these, right? And so that's just a matter of getting this pattern of the fingering down. There's a little squish and then an expanding again, okay? Try to shape it. Give it a little bit of, right? A little crescendo, and it's written there. So as we're going, contrary motion, shape, contrary motion, shape. Okay, and now I like this chord. This is an A half diminished seventh chord, and then the next chord is a fully diminished chord. Don't worry too much about that. I mean, you could look it up if you want. There's like unlimited resources about chords freely available anywhere. You're like, what's a diminished seventh chord? Infinite amount of boring things to know about chords. But in this situation, it's this crunchy chord to a more crunchy chord, right? And then it resolves nicely to a C chord. It's almost like a suspended C chord because it's got this A in it. So we've got is the sound of this chord progression that we're going through. Okay, I think this dol means dolce, sweet, and a little ritardando, which means ritenuto, which is like slowing down, okay? It plays sweet and just like calm the heck down. End pretty, at least. Get some arm movement happening. And then I like to kind of slow down as I get to that. So I'm gonna crescendo. And then back off, right? Make it pretty. So you've got a lot of expressive things that you can do on this page. F minor, it's a minor 4 chord to 1. It's a really lovely sound. And then so heaven forbid, you should take an idea from a composer that you're learning a piece from and repurpose those ideas for your own skills and your own enjoyment and your own creativity. Imagine that. So I encourage you to do that. Happy practicing.